Hey friends, how you doing today? This is Brother Chris Humphrey with God's Grace Podcast, and today I wanted to go over with something I preached on last week up in Indiana that really helped me. And a lot of people know the story of Noah, and as I was reading, there was several things that stuck out that is going on today. And let's look at Genesis chapter 6, and we'll go up, start with verse 5. We see here that, and God saw that the wickedness of man was great in the earth. And when I read that part of that verse, it like jumped off the page and, got a hold of me. The Lord said, Brother Chris, isn't this what's happened today? I believe we're living in a world that is full with great wickedness. Then we see that every imagination of the thoughts of his heart was only evil continually, and it repented that the Lord that he had made man on the earth, and it grieved him at his heart. The Lord was sad to see how the worldliness was going on in the men, how they were acting, because you know what? We're God's creation, and there's a certain way he wants us to act, and there's a certain things he wants us to do, and it made him sad. It's kind of like as a parent, when you have kids, there's a certain way you want them to behave. There's a certain way you want them to present themselves. When they, you kind of get embarrassed when they act wicked or mean, or they don't do the things that you want them to do. And it kind of breaks your heart as a parent. Same thing here with God. We're God's children. When we become in the hands of God, we become part of his family. And he was very heartbroken about how the world was acting. It's a great wickedness. It was great. It wasn't just little, it wasn't small, it was great. The world was wicked. But then we see here, and it repented the Lord that he made man on the earth, and it grieved him at his heart. And the Lord said, I will destroy man whom I've created from the face of the earth, both man and the beast, and the creeping thing, and the fowls of the air, for it repenteth me that I have made them. But then we see in verse 8, but Noah found grace in the eyes of the Lord. Noah found grace in the eyes of the Lord. Grace is something that, we receive as Christians that we don't deserve. As Christians, grace is something we do not deserve. But because of God's grace, we're able to attain that. But then we see here, these are the generations of Noah. Noah was a just man and perfect in his generation, and Noah walked with God. We'll go back to the front of the first of this verse. It says Noah was a just man. Noah was just your everyday average Joe. He wasn't famous. He wasn't a famous YouTuber. He wasn't a celebrity. He wasn't a movie star. He was a just man. He didn't have a lot of money. He was probably considered poor. He wasn't had the biggest house, the nicest cars. He was a just man. He said, Brother Chris, why is it important? Because it don't matter who you are, what you have, God can still use you. You could be somebody who's poor, who's on the street, but God can still use you. Noah was a just man. But then we see here, not only was a just man, he was perfect in his generations. He met the qualifications that God wanted to use him with. But then we see at the end, he says, Noah walked with God. And I want to stop right there. I want to kind of don't really want to preach too long. This video, I didn't really want to be a preaching video, but it's more of a helpful to you. And we look at Noah walking with God. That's a type of communication. That's the type of fellowship as Christians we want to have. And we all know about Noah. We know what he built. But think about it. Noah lived in a day that was wicked. Noah still was able to serve God on a daily basis, even in a wicked world. I believe today there's a lot of things that's going on that is holding a lot of Christians back from serving Him. There's a lot of things, a lot of the worldly things that's keeping us back, keeping our daily walk from God. And I preached this thought the other day up in Indiana about, it's time to walk with God. And I believe there's a lot of Christians who have taken their walking shoes off, as you would say, and it's time to start walking with God again. And I want to give you three quick things to how to walk with God. First, our walk, it needs to be continuous. Should never be stopping. Not only our walk should be continuous, our walk should be constant. We should always be doing something for the Lord. When we see walking with God, that's an ideal, a picture of being side by side with Him, not being too far ahead, or being too far behind, side by side. And the only way you can walk with God is having that communication with God. And what I mean by communication is getting down and praying and get on your knees, and the daily fellowship we need. Communication is probably one of the biggest things as Christians we need to be able to serve God. If we don't talk to God, how do we know He wants us to do? Think about this. Noah was on a daily walk. He knew the Lord showed him how to build this ark. Noah probably didn't have all the power tools we had today, but he knew exactly what he needed to do and how to do it. Noah didn't have YouTube to look up how to build an ark. He had something a little better. Really think about it. Noah didn't have the Bible either. Noah, the only way he communicated with God was to be in a constant prayer. And the be able to do that, Noah had to be, he was dedicated. To be dedicated, to be on a daily walk, you have to be dedicated. And I believe there's a lot of Christians who have lost that dedication to the church and to the Lord. We're living a rough time. But look, through the Bible, before we even came up to Noah, it says God saw that the wickedness of men was great in the earth. I can imagine the persecution and the ridicule Noah went through serving Him. And we see, if Noah never built the ark, the flood would have came and everybody would have been destroyed. But because Noah was dedicated in his daily walk with the Lord, he was able to do something far greater than he could do on his own. And I want to challenge you all this week, whenever you watch this, think about where you're at, where you're going. Noah spent so many years building this ark, and I couldn't imagine the things he was called, the things he did. But the thing is, with Noah, he never stopped his daily walk. And I believe, as Christians, this virus and these things we're going through, we have sat down, we have turned off the will of God, and we just sat down and we gave up. But as Christians, it's time we get back up, we go get our walking shoes on, and we start walking for Him. You gotta think about it. Noah built this ark all by himself. He had this huge boat he built. The only way he was able to do it is because he was serving God. And the reason he was able to do it because he was faithful to God. And he was dedicated to the duty of what the Lord wanted him to do. And I challenge y'all this week, sit down and think of the things that you were doing before all this virus happened, and go ahead and start picking that stuff back up, getting down your knees and praying, calling friends, inviting people to church. If your church is having it, pray for the will of God. Pray for the Lord will send revival in this wicked world. You said, Brother Chris, our world's pretty bad. The Bible said the wickedness was great in the time of Noah, but Noah was still able to continue his daily walk. And I want to make sure to thank you all. Subscribe to my page. Go like our Facebook. And go check us out on Apple Podcasts at God's Grace Podcast. Make sure you share it, and hopefully more videos like this will be coming out in the future. And if you're live in Louisville and you're looking for a church, I would love for you to come out and check out our church, Maryville Baptist Church, here in Hillview, Kentucky, and Louisville, South Louisville. And if you don't have a church home and you're watching this, you don't live in Louisville, Kentucky, we do our Facebook live streams. And if you could, I would like for you to subscribe to my YouTube page. And God bless, and y'all have a glorious night.